Hello, good evening, everyone. Hello. Am I audible to you?
Good evening, madam.
Right.
Good
Okay.
evening,
Good
madam.
evening. Okay. How are you all today?
Good, ma'am.
Good. Okay. Right.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
excuse me. It's me, Buddhika here.
Yeah.
And ma'am, I'm extremely sorry to say that I had a bad network connection in the last week. While
Yeah.
I was delivering my speech,
Yeah.
I had to undergo a very bad network connection. So I
Uh-huh.
couldn't join the class
Uh-huh.
till the end. But I listened to the recordings and I jot down all the notes here. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, including me, there are
Yeah.
a few students who hadn't got that assignment. Uh, Madam had given assigned us some work to do. I mean, to do a
Yeah.
presentation.
Assignment, of course, I have not sent it yet, right? I gave you the topics to be prepared.
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Then assignment after today's class, I will send you the black and white assignment, giving you 2 weeks time.
All right, ma'am.
Yeah.
Will we be given the topics today?
I have given the topics that day. Maybe you did get because you
No.
had a bad connection. You said no.
Yeah.
The
Then,
rest of the class, I have given the topics.
yeah, ma'am.
So for
So,
you,
will I
can I
be?
give you Sigmund Freud?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Right. Okay. So take it down and you can actually get ready for Sigmund Freud. So all
Right.
the assignment with the instructions, I will be sending it after today's class and you
Right, ma'am.
will have 2 weeks time to
Right,
ready
ma'am.
for that. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. The thing I wanted to know is what's my topic?
Yeah,
So I
that
got
is, I
Sigmund Freud.
give
Thank
you
you, ma'am.
Sigmund Freud.
All
Okay.
right. Okay,
Others,
ma'am.
any other person that who has not got a kind of um a topic?
Excuse
Madam,
me.
excuse me,
Yeah,
madam.
yeah.
I am also joined newly, and I do need the
Today
topic.
is your first day, right? You
Yeah.
have to listen to the recordings from day 1, day 2 live and get
Okay.
ready for this. I will give you Erik Erikson's
Very
the
correct.
social theory. Okay.
Okay, madam. Thank
Have
you.
you
Excuse me,
listened
madam.
to the Have you listened to the recordings? No.
Not still, madam.
All right. Okay.
Okay,
Excuse
madam.
me, madam.
Yeah.
Madam, myself is new to the class too, madam, but I followed all the lessons. Could you please
Mhm.
give me a topic, madam?
Right. I will give you Kohlberg's moral development.
Okay, madam. Thank you, madam.
Right. Okay. So that's it. And I did not ask you to come prepared for the 1 minute talk, no? I didn't ask you, no?
No, ma'am. You
Right.
said that we will do a
Question and
question and
answer
answer
session.
session.
Right. So I'll be looking at the class and a quick round of question and answers. Okay. I have not completed Piaget also, I know. I have to discuss the stages of Piaget, but the first question goes to Fatima Hasika. Are you there?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. What are the key words that you should incorporate into a definition of lifespan development?
Madam, I am so new to the class. This
Right.
is the
Okay,
first class.
Buddhika,
Okay,
you are
ma'am.
able to?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Key words in
Uh,
a definition of lifespan development.
there are some keywords in the lifespan development concept. They are uh, age-related changes, uh, stages, I mean, the prenatal stage and the postnatal stage, and aspects of development like physical, cognitive, social, motor, moral, and so on, and from conception to death.
Okay, very good.
Am I
Which happens
audible,
in
ma'am?
stages. Very good. That
All
is
right.
really good. If you incorporate relatively permanent changes. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
relatively permanent changes. Very good. So my next question is for Dhananjana. Dhananjana, are you there?
Yes, madam.
Can you name 2 factors that affect lifespan development?
Nature was major factor and maturity was learning factor.
Very good. Okay. Then this question goes to Fatima Hasika. Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. What are the actually determinant factors of nature or heredity? Normally, what are the common inherited features of an individual by nature? Physical features, ailments, talents and temperaments, and some diseases, some mental sicknesses, and physical features, intelligence. Okay, that is what we discuss. Gayani, are you there?
Yes, madam.
Right. Can you tell me the 3 underlying principles of Piaget's theory of cognitive development?
Age, ability, sensation,
No.
stages of cognitive development.
Now, when we actually look at Piaget's theory, we can actually study Piaget's theory by looking at 3 components. What are the 3 components? Then please tell.
Stages.
Before the stages, first the underlying principles, then the cognitive process, then the 4 stages of cognitive development. You have to give it in order, otherwise it makes no sense, dear, right? Okay, right, it's okay. Shakira Nias, did you answer? No. Can I ask you a question? What are the
Yeah,
3
sure.
underlying principles of Piaget's theory of cognitive development?
The 3 underlying principles of Piaget's theory is number 1, cognitive development is age related, right? And the second one is cognitive development happens in 4 significant stages.
Very good.
And the third one is age may vary, never the sequence. It means the
Very
stages.
good. Very good, right? Very thorough. I'm happy you have studied. So my next question goes to Rukaya. Are you there?
Yes, madam.
Right.
But
So,
I'm new to the class. Only today
you are new to the class. You can't. Then okay. Gayani, did you answer? Yes, no? Then Mayumi, can you answer one of my questions?
Madam, I'm here. Yes.
Yeah. So I want you to talk about the second component of Piaget's theory of cognitive development, which is the cognitive process. What are the key terms that you have to actually discuss in order to talk about the cognitive process?
Schema, assimilation, accommodation, equilibrations.
Very well done. Can you explain schemata only?
It's mean building blocks of knowledge, millions of schema, how to do something, existing knowledge. It's hypothetical, and they undergo changes. They may changes, madam.
Definitely, yes. Very good. Very good explanation. So I want Himaya. Are you there?
Yes, madam, but I am new to the class.
Oh, all new
This
girls.
is my first day.
Okay. Imasha? Imasha?
Yes, madam.
Right. Can you explain assimilation and accommodation by giving an example?
Madam, I'm new to the class, but I looked the lectures. Shall I try?
You give it a try, Puta. You don't have to be perfect.
Okay, madam. In schema, that means the knowledge that we have already. Assimilation means the new knowledge that we get from something, and if the knowledge is similar to schema, we can add that knowledge to the existing knowledge and keep it. And Accommodation means when we get extra knowledge, that means which
Mhm.
is varying from the existing knowledge, then
Mhm.
there's a new set of knowledge. So accommodating to that and changing our knowledge into that level is accommodation.
Very good. Example, I don't want to waste time because we all watch a video also. So very good attempt. I'm happy. Okay.
Thank
And
you.
then you were not in the class and watching the video only, that you're recording only. That's very well done. So keep it up.
Thank
So
you,
I
ma'am.
have another question. That is, what is equilibration? Who can talk about equilibration? Can I?
Madam,
Yeah, please.
equilibration mean we are in the state of equilibrium until we confront a new knowledge.
Very
Okay.
good.
When
Mhm.
we confront a new knowledge, we are now in disequilibrium. We are now in the stage of disequilibrium.
Mhm.
So, in order to move to equilibrium, definitely we should engage in assimilation and accommodation.
Wow. Very good, Shakira. It's Shakira, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, very good. So now, actually, that is what I discussed last time. It's a quick round of question and answer, and very well done. I'm very happy. Keep it up. Okay. And now I will talk to you about the third component of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. What is the third component of Piaget's theory of cognitive development?
Four
Stages.
stages of
Stages.
cognitive development.
For the 4 stages of cognitive development. So let me open my PowerPoint and then talk to you about the 4 stages. Right, I'm opening my PowerPoint, and I think everybody's having these connection issues these days. Most of the connections are not steady, right?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, everybody's facing this problem. So I'm kind of sharing. Now you know where we are. We are still in cognitive development, and the third component, that is stages of cognitive development. So when we come to cognitive development, okay, we have to actually, I wanted you to actually make a note of it. At this level, you can actually talk about the stages referring to these criteria. Did I give you the criteria? No, I will talk to you. Now, each and every stage.
Ma'am, the headings were
You
given.
gave the criteria, ma'am.
Yeah. What
Okay.
are the criteria I gave you?
Name of the
Six
stage,
criteria.
Very good.
age specified,
Very good.
how does cognitive development happens in each stage,
Very good.
significant cognitive abilities or the
Okay.
tasks,
Okay.
key feature or the highest cognitive ability of the stage.
Wow. Yes. Then the last.
The experiment conducted
Done.
by
By
Piaget.
Piaget. Very good. So if you can talk about these things, that is adequate. Okay. Very good. I'm very happy. So now we will look at the first stage, the name, sensory motor stage. What is the name of this first stage? Sensory motor stage of cognitive development. Okay. What is the specified age? From birth up to 2 years. In some psychology books, it says birth up to 18 years. Okay, because this was proposed in 1940s. Now we are in the world of technology. So the sensory inputs are very rich. Because of that, some books have changed it to 18 months. So years are 18 months then, right? And then what's the next one? How does cognitive development happen in that stage? Look at the title given to the stage. Sensory motor stage. That means the child from birth up to 18 years or 2 years develops the cognition through sensory input and motor activities. I repeat, child in this stage develops the cognition. What is cognition? Ability to think, perceive, comprehend, store it in the memory, understand, retain the information in the memory, retrieve the information from the memory, sensation, perception, memory, thinking, comprehension, logical thinking. Those are actually cognitive processes. You get me? Yeah. So how does the cognitive development happens in the first stage from birth up to 2 years? Through sensory input and motor activities. Now, what are the 5 senses we have?
Smell, taste,
Yeah,
touch,
very
hear,
good. And there are 5.
see,
See.
and see.
Yeah, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we taste, like that. No, the 5 senses. All the information we get through our 5 senses, they help us to develop our cognition during the first stage up to birth, up to 2 years. That is why if you walk into a newly born child's room, it's full of colors, rattly shaken, and there are some play items that you can actually wind it and make sounds and all that. All these things are there, no? And colors and all that, because they're sensory inputs. What they see, what they hear, sensory inputs. And then at the same time, motor activities. Motor activities means what they can do using their hands, feet, legs, and all that. Fine motor, right? Very little fingers, what they can hold, what they can touch, like that. Okay, get it?
Yes, ma'am.
They engage in these sensory inputs and motor activities, and they develop their cognition. That is how the cognitive development happens in the first stage. Now, to do a thorough study, they say there are 6 sub-stages of cognitive development, right? Starting with reflexes. What do you think? As soon as the child is born, a newly born child, do they have any schemata? Do they have any building blocks of knowledge? A newly born child. What do you think? I want you to respond. Yes, they do, but they are very limited. They can cry, they can swallow, they can actually root the nipple and drink milk from the mother's breast. They can cry, they can put their arms and legs outward, Moro reflex when they are in pain, right? So they are reflexes. So they are born with reflexes. They are the building blocks of knowledge they have for their survival, and they are very limited in number. But what they could do, they can actually coordinate them, combine them, and then they can actually develop their abilities. You get me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Now, for example, they say now as soon as a child is born, the child can't actually recognize anybody. The child doesn't recognize anybody. And the child actually doesn't know, this is piano music, this is a rattle. Like that, the child can't actually comprehend any sounds that the child hears. Later on, what happens? Now the mother shakes a rattle, right? Mother shakes a rattle. The child just go on looking at it, just goes on looking at it. And then later on, the child will try to actually grab it from the mom. And then when the child sees the rattle, the child knows later, afterwards, this can make noise, but the child doesn't know how to make noise. And after some time, the child knows by shaking it, I can make noise. Likewise, that is how the cognitive development happens during the first stage, right? And through sensory input and motor activity, coordination of, combination of, or interaction of the reflexes that the child is born with, right? Now, what are the significant cognitive developments in the sensory motor stage, the first stage? You can make your notes. You have 6 columns for the 4 stages, right? What are the significant cognitive development? We will just discuss person permanence and object permanence. What are the 2 things? Person permanence, object permanence. Are you there?
Madam, can you repeat it once again?
Yeah, person permanence. You can see here the permanence here, the word permanence. First, the person permanence, then the object permanence. I'm taking the arrow there. Okay, got it? Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What is this person permanence? Person permanence is that the child's ability to recognize familiar faces. When the child is born, the child can't recognize the familiar faces. They are just pictures. Somebody's here. And the child actually develops the ability to smell the milk of the mom. And then knows my milk has come or something like that. And later on, the child actually develops the ability to identify people when they are seen by the child. That is termed as person permanence. Person permanence. Even the mother is not to be seen. The child knows mother is there. Even is not to be seen. The child knows, though nanny is not to be seen, nanny is there. Otherwise, the child sees the mom. Okay. When the mom is not there, child doesn't know that the existence of the mom. When the nanny is here, child knows, this is nanny or somebody. But when the nanny is not to be seen, the child doesn't know that there is nanny. It's gone from the memory, mind. But when the child develops person permanence, even in the absence of that person, the child knows they exist. Got my point? I want your response.
Yes, ma'am.
So early days of this stage, the children doesn't know. They are not to be seen. They don't know they are there. They know my mom is there, my nanny is there. They don't know. When they develop person permanence, it's a big cognitive ability, right? They know in the absence of the mother, the child knows mother is there. Though mother is not to be seen, though I don't get the mother's smell, mother is there. Though I don't see the nanny around, nanny is there. The child develops that ability. That is as person permanence. It comes to the child by the age of 1.5 months. 1.5 months. That is now, some children, those who are actually very high in IQ, or those who are nurture is due to the factors affecting development, the child may master it. Maybe in genes, maybe nurture, whatever, the child will master it before 1.5 months. But naturally, in an average child, it comes by the 1.5 years. That is why they say if the mother wants to start working, it has to be before 9 months. Then the child doesn't know mom is there. Right? If you actually delay, then the child knows mom is there, even mom is not to be seen. So the child will cry for the mom the whole day because the child has developed person permanence. I hope that it's okay. Then we'll go to the next one, the key feature of the stage, the highest cognitive ability of the stage, which says that the child is ready to move on to the second stage, right? The highest cognitive ability is object permanence. What is the highest cognitive ability?
Object permanence.
Yeah, that is, object permanence means even though the objects are not to be seen, not to be heard, not to be smelled, not to be felt, or whatever, the child learns The child knows they exist. When this understanding comes to the child, my ball is not to be seen, my doll is not to be seen, the lighter is not to be seen. There was some object here, yellow in color, it's not to be seen. When the child comes to know, even though the objects are not to be seen, heard, smelled, or whatever, that they exist, the child has developed object permanence. It is the highest cognitive ability of the first stage, which is termed as key feature. Okay? Now, for this, now you can read this. The fact that objects, events, or even people continue to exist when they are not in the infant's direct line of sensory or motor action. Children still know, though they are not to be seen, heard, or whatever, they are there. That is, they have developed object permanence, and it's the key feature, the highest cognitive ability of the first stage. Right? So what is the study done by Piaget to see whether the child is and the child is ready to move on to the second stage? It is termed as blanket ball study. What is it termed as?
Blanket
Yeah.
balls.
Yeah. The child is shown a ball and it is put under a blanket. If the child doesn't see or look for the ball, after putting it under the blanket, the child has not developed object permanence. You show the child a ball and then put it under the blanket and the child looks for it, then the child has developed object permanence. That is the blanket ball study conducted by Piaget in order to see whether the child has achieved the key feature, the highest cognitive development, and now ready to move on to the second stage of cognitive development. So that is what you have to discuss under the headings that I have given. You have to discuss the first stage. Are you okay?
Yes, madam.
Right. Then I will show you a video at the end. Now, suppose now I told you now these are specified, but it may vary. Ages are specified, it may vary. Suppose now there is a very mentally retarded child. She is 10 years old, but still in the first stage of cognitive development. So these educators, they will actually still use this blank. You understand? Okay. And when, if you know little ones, those who are 10 months, 12 months, 14 months and all that, you can see whether they have developed, you can test and see whether they have developed their object permanence or person permanence. You know, you can do the blanket ball experiment and see. Maybe he's only 8 months, he'll develop his object permanence because maybe due to his IQ is very high, maybe due to his rich environment or whatever, we don't know. You can do a little. I have done that with my own child. Okay, I wanted to see whether he is ready to go to the second stage. Stage idea will be that stage 8 May for her. I want to see. So you also can experiment with your own kids, if not your nieces, nephews, and neighbors, children, and all that. No harm, no ethical considerations. Okay, now hope it is done. Then we come to the second stage of cognitive development. Okay. The second stage development, the name. Look at the name. Pre-operation stage. What is the name of the stage, Puta?
Pre-operational
Stage.
What is the age specified?
2 to 7.
2 to 7 years. 2 to 7 years. Up in preschool. Yeah. Preschool stage. 2 to 7 years. Now here they are. Now I told you there are 6 sub-stages in first stage, but we don't discuss. But here, of course, you can actually think of the 2 sub-stages of cognitive development during pre-operational stage. First stage is from 2 to 4 years. First stage is from 2 to 4 years. අපි කියනවා symbolic stage කියලා. Symbolic stage. And from 4 to 7 years, we call it intuitive stage කියලා. Intuitive stage. Now, what is the difference? Now, when it comes to 4 years, how does cognitive development happen? Through the symbols. Through symbols and play and make believe games. Because this time the language is there in the child. During this stage, the child begins to develop the ability to represent objects with images and words. Language skills developed and imagination. Sometimes you might feel the child lies a lot, 2 to 4. They lie a lot because their imagination, make believe, games, play. They have language, so words. And they actually use images to represent their thoughts. And by doing so, they develop their cognition during the symbolic stage, sub-stage. Very important that the children engage in play activities. Symbolic plays is to stand. I think that together. They use mother's underskirt and use it as the veil to be worn in the church. They use something else, the broom, and they think that it is the plane. They use the broom for play. So they are symbolic play. It helps them to develop their cognition, right? Fantasy play, pretend to be something or pretend activities that are impossible, right? I'm somebody like that. And I have 2 sisters, those who are they're twins. They are 10 years younger to me. Now I'm talking about long time back. Okay, they are also big ones now in their 40s. You know, they are twins now. They always played the role of mother and mother's best friend, Murianti. Everista and Murianti. So they used to tell Balandako pol hari gana neda. Ara palli giyadවත් they talk and all that. Play. They they pretend to be others and things and all that. And then make believe play, use toys as props. That is why if you want to buy toys for these ages, if you go to Pico and all that, you can see, that doctor nurse kits are there. And then cookware kits are there. So why? That is make them use toys as props. Okay. So it's very important during the first sub-stage, that is symbolic stage, in this pre-operational stage, 2 to 4 years for the cognitive development. And you don't have to think that they lie. Sometimes in their imagination, they lie, right? Yeah. So you don't have to think, Kani, these are bad children, they lie and all that. No, it will actually, you can ignore it because it will. And then the 4 to 7 years, the second sub-stage, intuition. That time they become very inquisitive. They become very inquisitive and they want to ask lots of questions. They begin to use reasoning, how it is mainly intuitive. Intuitive means not logical, but just a feeling, right? Just a feeling, very direct feeling, just something comes to their mind, something like that. Not logical at all, right? But something comes to their mind, so they ask a lot of questions. They are not actually logical at all. So they ask why it is red in color, why not blue, why it is of this shape, why it is not a box like that. They go on asking questions. They are just intuition. They are just sudden feelings of thoughts, not logical feelings, not logical at all. Sudden feelings of thoughts, just intuition. But you can see if it is 4 to 7 children, you can't stop them. They ask all sorts of questions. What are you doing? I'm cooking dal. Why are you cooking dal? Why dal is this color? Why have taken this much? Isn't it too much? Why do you put water there? And all these things they will ask. That sudden thoughts that actually come across their mind. with sometimes they are not difficult at all. They go on asking questions, but you don't have to discourage because their inquisitiveness, that intuition helps them to develop their cognition during the second stage and the second sub-stage intuition. You got my points?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
Right.
Yes.
Now, what are the key features? No, what are the significant cognitive that they develop? You have to take down, okay? First one, shedding animism. Shedding animism. ANIMISM. Shedding animism. Shed animism. ANIMISM. That is a very significant cognitive ability that they develop. But rather than they develop, they shed some limitations in them. Okay. Now, person permanence and object permanence, they develop now. Here, animism is shed. That means they are born with a limitation. That limitation is shed during that stage as a very significant cognitive development. What is that significant cognitive development? Kela, I told you what is it? What is that very significant cognitive development during the second stage? Shedding animism. So what is this animism? The false belief, boru vishwasa, the false belief that the child has that objects have living qualities. The false the child has that objects have inanimate objects, non-living things. Inanimate objects have living qualities. When they're born, they have that false belief. They think everything that they see, hear, feel, and all that, they have qualities. They have that misconception, that false belief. And during the second stage, as a mark of cognitive development, they shed, they remove, they do away with that false belief of animism, that inanimate objects have living qualities. For example, I tell you, now the child is only 4-5 years, 3-4 years. The child hit against the door. To pacify the child, the mother says, let me hit the door. Why did you hurt my child? Mother hits the door. The child stops crying. Why? The child thinks that the door has living qualities. And sometimes you show them the moon and you tell them, look at the Handamama. Your qualities to the moon, to the inanimate object, because that is child's understanding at the second stage. But it's a significant cognitive development. The child shed that false belief that inanimate objects have living qualities. That is a significant cognitive development in the second stage. Are you okay?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. Now, I want you to look at the key feature of the second stage. Key feature. The key feature is the highest the second stage. Once again, shedding egocentrism. I repeat, what is it? Shedding egocentrism. Ego, E-G-O. Centrism, C-E-N-T-R-I-S-M.
Madam, shedding egocentrism is the highest cognition ability of the stage. Am I right?
Can you hear anything? I can't hear. Madam is not audible.
Madam is not in
Yeah, I
the.
think my connection was a problem. Now I'm back. Okay.
Okay, okay, ma'am.
Right. Okay. Now you know that limitation that child can't take varied perspectives is shed as the key feature of the highest cognitive development. I will give you an example here. Okay, again the connection issue. Let me share the PowerPoint and talk. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, ma'am.
Right. So the three mountain task, okay? When it comes to the three mountain task, this is the study done. A child is placed here and the child sees the three mountains, low one, average, and the highest or the tallest. And the child sees it from this angle. Then the child is shown photographs of pictures taken from other angles as well. From this angle, the child first sees this, no, the tallest, no, and from this angle, it's a different view. From this angle, another different view. And the child is shown pictures. If the child identifies all the pictures taken from different angles as pictures of these three mountains, the child has shed egocentrism. He can actually see others' perspectives, varied perspectives. But if the child says, this is the photograph taken from this is a picture of these three mountains, and the rest that the child can't identify, recognize, then the child has not developed. Give me a second to say on it. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Right. So now the three mountains. The child can identify all the pictures are from this, and then child they very positive. It's shared. And if the means still the not limited. It's taken from Okay, so then
Madam,
if
excuse me,
the of
Ma'am, you are not audible.
the line is not clear, ma'am.
recognizing, yeah. Give me a second. Okay.
The voice is being dragging, madam.
Let me fix. Is it okay now? Am I audible? I'm actually changed the connection.
Yeah, now it's fine.
Now okay, ma'am.
All right, thank you. So I think that you could understand the three mountain task, right? So shedding that egocentrism, that is the child's inability to understand varied perspectives. It's limited to his own perspective. But once it is shed, that he can understand varied perspectives because he has shed his inability to understand varied perspectives. The child has mastered the key feature of the second stage, and then the child is ready to move on to the third stage. As you have the recording, I don't think that I have to actually repeat. I think that you can listen to the recording. Am I right?
Yes,
Okay,
madam.
fine.
Right. To save time. Okay. If when you listen to the recording, if you have doubts, next day when you come, you can actually talk to me. Okay. Right. That is the third stage, second stage. Now we move on to the third stage. Let's go to the third stage of cognitive development. This is wrong. Actually, this is wrong. It doesn't have to be pre-operational. I will actually remove it. It's not pre-operational, but you can take it down concrete operational. What is it? Concrete operational stage. I will write it here. Concrete operational stage of cognitive development. It is from 7 years to 11 years, the primary school child. Concrete operational stage, 7 to 11 years, the primary school child. Okay. How does the child develop the cognition then? The child develops the cognition during the primary school, that is from 7 to 11 years, through concrete experiences. Concrete experiences. What is concrete experiences? The child can hear, child can see, the child can touch, the child can smell. These things the child can easily understand. Concrete experiences, hands-on experience. If you ask the child, there is an animal, it is black in color, it has dots all over the body, and it is huge in size, it has 2 long ears and all that, it's not shown a picture, not really, and the child finds it difficult to actually understand because it's not a concrete situation experience created. So the child's cognition during the third stage, that is concrete operational, develops through the concrete experiences given to the child. So there's a very good insight for the primary school teacher. Use visuals, use realia, give students hands-on experiences. Then actually students will understand it better and easily. Got me?
Yes, madam.
Now, for example, grade 1 student. If you tell them 1 plus 1 is 2, the child will not understand. But if you use an abacus, the child will understand. Am I right? If you get them to draw, if you show them, there's a mango, one mango, there's another mango. Then you put them together. How many mangoes? 2. 1 plus 1, 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So if you tell it, the grade 1 student will not understand. But you can create a concrete situation. You can tell them, I have 2 mangoes. Look at this. 2, 1, 2. So I ate 1. So you actually ate or put it in somewhere, and I gave one to my friend. So you give it to somebody. And now one is taken. So how many remaining? What's the answer? One. You get the students. Two is there. They draw two balls. One is there. They draw one ball. And if it is minus, they cut. If it is adding, they add one. Like that. And they actually transform these into concrete experiences for the sake of understanding. Because during 7th 11, during the concrete operational, the students actually develop their cognition through the concrete experiences given to them. So hands-on activities, very important. They have to see, they have to touch. So the teachers use visuals, language labs, mathematics labs, field trips, and then the teachers actually use simulations in order to actually give that concrete experiences to the child, because that is how their cognition develops during 7 to 11 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you take a grade 5 student, the one who is going for the scholarship. If it is a very brainy child, they don't have to, but average child, you tell Mala is 5'4", Mala's sister is 5'11", Mala's brother is 5'8", and Mala is 5. Who is the tallest and who is the shortest? She will definitely transform that into concrete experience. She will draw Mala's brother and write 4'11", and then 4'10" and Mara's sister, like that, and identify who is the shortest and who is the largest. Because the child actually transforms it into a concrete experience. So language labs, mathematics labs, equipment, right? They are very, very important in the primary grades. Visuals and all that. Are you okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, the significant cognitive development during the third stage concrete operational. I will first read it out. Significant ones only. There are others, right? But significant ones. You can say classification. 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 Seriation. 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 Reversibility. 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 Those are the significant cognitive abilities that the child develops during the third stage. First one, classification. What is classification? The child can classify objects into different categories based on different criteria. All these are of triangles shape. All these are oval shape. All these are rectangular shape. All these are actually square shape. That ability. And these are red, these are blue, these are green. Then, they have 2 legs, they have 4 legs. They have 5 petals, they have lots of petals. They have 1 petal. They can categorize. Defining criteria, they will think of ways of classifying. These are vegetables, these are fruits. So English teachers also, you ask them, right? Put them into 2 columns, fruits and vegetables, like that. So environmental studies teacher, take them out to the grounds and ask them how many petals. So because you make use of that cognitive ability to teach subject matter. So classification is one important cognitive ability that they develop during the third stage. Then come to the seriation. Look at this picture. Look at this picture. Seriation. Right? From ascending order, descending order in mathematics. Arrange them in ascending order. Arrange them in descending order in the grade 5 scholarship, And from biggest to the smallest. From tallest to the shortest. From darkest to the lightest. Like that, you can get them to actually arrange it into a kind of a seriation. That is also a very important, significant cognitive ability that the child develops. Even the toys are there to actually facilitate that ability in them during that stage. That is seriation. Even if you're the art teacher, dark colors to the light colors, you have to color the design like that. So the children will enjoy doing that. Something like that. Then ascending order, descending order, in English language, alphabetical order, right? Alphabetical order. All these are very important. Then, I told you reversibility. Reversibility means working backwards. Working backwards. Now, when the child is in grade 1, you say 1 plus 1 equals, there's a square blank. They have to put 2. But when they go to grade 3, you say 1 plus blank equals to 2. They have to work it backwards and then actually do the sum. That is reversibility. It's a bit advanced cognitive ability. So they develop all these cognitive abilities. They are very significant cognitive abilities that they develop in the 3rd stage. Got it?
Yeah, ma'am.
Now the key feature. Now the key feature. Key feature is the highest cognitive ability. If they have developed that ability, they can move on to the 4th stage. Right. That is termed as conservation. What do we call it at?
Conservation.
Conservation. So I type it here first, classification. And then I told seriation. And then I told reversibility. And the highest cognitive ability or the key feature is conservation. The concept of conservation. Right. I will first talk about the key studies done. Then you will understand it better, okay? Now, the Beaker study is the study repeatedly done by Piaget. Beaker study. So you can see the arrow. I'm actually taking the arrow to the Beaker study illustration. So there are 2 glasses. They are short and spout. And it has liquids. And then in front of the child, you pour one of the liquid in one glass into a tall, thin one. Tall and thin one. And then the amount of water is actually like this. Then you ask the child, which glass holds more water? If the child says this glass has more water, the child has not developed the concept of conservation. If the child says both have the same amount, because it's the same amount that you poured into the tall, thin glass, the child has developed the concept of conservation. And look at this. Now here you can see 10 teak balls equally spread. And then in front of the child, you actually spread the second line to a line like this. And then each line has 4 teeth. If the child says this line has more teeth, the child has not developed the concept of conservation. If the child says, though this is longer, both have the same number of teeth, the child has developed the concept of conservation. There's another study. Now you have a ball of clay, same size, 2 balls of clay. And one ball in front of the child, you actually flatten it to a roti shape. And then you ask the child which has more clay. If the child says the roti has more clay, she or he has not developed the concept of conservation. If the child says both have the same amount, quantity, the child has developed the concept of conservation. Are you okay?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah, are you now? Yeah, that is it. Okay, now we'll go to, there is a very common question. Sometimes elders ask, which weighs more, 1 kilo of wool or 1 kilo of iron? Which weighs more? Some say it's 1 kilo of wool because it's a huge bundle of wool. but it's not so because both have 1 kilogram. So that is concept of conservation. It doesn't come that easily, right? You have to know, right? And then that is about the third stage. Concept of concrete situations should be created in order to facilitate the cognitive development of the child, because during the third stage, the cognitive development happens through the concrete experiences that the child is exposed to. So hands-on experiences, right? The last stage, that is the formal operational stage. Formal operations or operational stage, both are correct. From 11 upwards, 11 plus, the child is in the formal operations of the cognitive development. During that stage, the child develops the cognition through logical thinking, reasoning. The child develops the cognition through logical thinking and reasoning, right? And then, you know, what are the significant cognitive developments? The child is possible of logical thinking. The child is possible of looking at cause and effect. The child is capable of understanding abstract concepts like love, understanding. Now you look at this picture and commenting because it's abstract. There can be different interpretations. Somebody who is artistic would say, this is autumn. And somebody who actually does not have that exposure will actually look at it in a different way. So like that, imagination, creativity, all are possible cognitive abilities. And the highest cognitive ability is abstract thinking. They can understand things which are not concrete, which are not tangible. They can understand these, right? It's the highest cognitive ability. What are the studies done? Ekak tamai the pendulum task. Pendulum task, you know, batta in a clock, pendulum, okay? Now here, the child is given a pendulum and asked, calculate the highest speed that it can go. So there are variables: weight of the pendulum, the length of the string, the weight of the push, and all variables. If the child tries to change more than one variable at a time to calculate the highest speed that the pendulum can go, the child has not reached the peak, right, of logical thinking. If the child tries to actually change one variable at a time, calculate the highest speed that the pendulum can go, the child has developed the logical thinking. So that is one of the actually studies done to see whether the child has reached the highest stage of abstract thinking, right? And in the fourth stage. And another one that you ask, if you want a third eye, you're going to be blessed with a third eye. Where do you want to have it? Quickly, without thinking, where do you want to have it? You're going to have a third eye. You have only 2 eyes now. Where do you want to have it? Hello? Where do you want to have it?
In the middle of the forehead.
Yeah, in the middle of the forehead. But if you're logical in your thinking, if you have reached the highest status, you might think you want it at the back of the head, because you don't have to turn and see the back. Am I right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that is it. So that is another actually very common question that is asked. There are others also, right? So that is your very logical in your thinking. So level plus, that is the secondary school upwards, that you have to get the child to develop their logical thinking. So the methodologies that you use in the primary will not help them to develop their logical thinking in the secondary grades. So you have to change your methodologies. You have to change your strategies, right? So that is how the content, that is how the methodologies have been prescribed in the curriculums. So you have to make it a favorable environment. The teacher is using proper methods and strategies to develop their logical thinking and all that. Yes, the child will develop them fast, right? Okay, so these are now you can listen to your recording. You can actually read the note I have sent, and you can make a note on the 4 stages of Piaget. And I'm quite sure after listening to your answers for the questions I asked that you will do that, Kela. And next day, 1 minute talk is there, but you can't exit 1 minute. If you exit, I won't be able to manage my time because I have to cover the syllabus also. So it is only 1 minute. So you have to be very well prepared. You don't have to talk about everything I talk. You have to give the main ideas of the stage. You select one stage and talk about it for 1 minute. Are you okay?
And excuse me, ma'am, when do we want
Yeah.
to do the presentation?
That of course, I will send you a written document by tomorrow. And there I will give you the due date. After anyway, from tomorrow, after 2 weeks only.
Okay, ma'am.
Got it? Right. Yeah. You have time. Okay. I want you to do a good job.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
The 1 minute talk will be about what, madam? About this section?
Yeah. One of the stages of cognitive development. You can select any stage and you can listen to the recording. You can read the note and then you have to make it only 1 minute. So everything you can't be talking. No? So most important, look at the criteria. I have given you criteria. Based on that, you can actually make it a 1 minute. If it is more than 1 minute, actually I can't manage because I want to stop it because I have a syllabus to cover. But it's really good exercise for you if you do and come present. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
One of the stages of your choice. Okay. But it has to be only within 1 minute. Right. Okay. So then this is about the stages of cognitive development. Now I want you to actually think of educational implications of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. Educational implications. Shall we discuss quickly the educational implications of Piaget quickly?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah. What are the educational implications? Always teachers have to actually give new knowledge and disturb the equilibration in order to get the students to develop their schemata through assimilation and accommodation. Am I right?
Yes, madam.
Am I right? Yes or no?
Yes, their existing knowledge should be developed with new knowledge.
Yeah. So that equilibrium should be disturbed.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Then the second one, readiness. Wait till the readiness comes. That is why, the cognitive development are age and stage specified. So you can't actually force any cognitive development on the child. Just because you like your child to do something which is possible only in the 3rd stage, that cannot be done because there should be age appropriacy when it comes to cognitive development. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is also another important implication for the teacher. Don't force anything. Wait till the readiness comes. Okay. And the third one, when you deal with young ones, pre-primary, give them a lot of play activities. Don't actually stop them asking questions. Get them to actually engage in lots of sensory inputs. Get them to actually engage in lots of play activities. Get them to ask questions, right? And all that. And then when they are in the primary, give them lots of hands-on experiences, create concrete situations, teach them in the labs, blah, blah, blah. And when it comes to the secondary school, give them challenges to test their logical thinking. change your methodologies to make it suitable for the logical thing, the child who is logical in thinking. And all these things are classroom or teacher implications of Piaget. Hands-on experiences a must, right? Okay. So that is implications of Piaget's theory of cognitive development. You can think of that also. If you want to make it 1 minute talk, implications of Piaget's theory, you can take up that also. Okay. Okay,
Okay, ma'am.
Okay,
Yeah,
ma'am.
ma'am.
so I'm done with Piaget. Okay, I'm done with Piaget. If you look at the second unit, we discuss what is lifespan, factors affecting lifespan, aspects, and then we discuss Piaget's theory. And I have given you notes on Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory, Erik Erikson's psychosocial theory of development, Bronfenbrenner's ecological systems theory of development, and Kohlberg's moral development theory. And you have the notes and you have to read, make your notes and do a presentation and learn from each other. That is how the rest of the unit 2 is covered. Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Right. Let me actually show you this. I actually want to show you this. Give me a second. ඊට පස්සේ we will start the third unit, cognition. Very important for the teacher, cognition. So I will start cognition today. Let me first show this to you. I think it's going to be very helpful. I'm fed up with these connections, Appa. Okay. Then paste and go. Okay, now please see whether you can see and hear the computer sound. Can you hear the computer sounds?
It's not audible, ma'am.
Computer sounds cannot be now. No?
Yeah.
Yeah. I play it from the beginning.
Madam, we cannot hear.
Ma'am, it's visible, but it's not audible.
Okay, let me. Give me a second, I will do something. Yeah. Okay. Now I have to share it again. It's a new share. And then this is the one. And I have to share sound. And then share. Okay. See whether it's audible now. Is it audible?
For me, not yet, ma'am.
No, same problem here also, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Now, is it fixed? Is it fixed now?
No.
No.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Right. Anyway, what you can read in the at the bottom line, that is what the recording is about. Okay. If you can
Okay,
read
ma'am.
what is there, it is what the recording is about.
Ma'am, is the video is being played?
Video is being played. Can't you see?
No, it is stopped.
Ma'am, it's post.
I think the problem is credits then. In the PowerPoint that I'm sending, this is their Putta, right? I think because of the connection, I think the connection is not proper. So you can't see and hear the videos, right? I will give one more chance. And if it doesn't work, we will stop this because I can send you the link. You can watch it. Okay. Okay there. Uttara දෙන්න ළමයි. I'm
Okay,
tired.
ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
Oh, in බලන්න මං පොඩක් බලන්නම්. One more try with another connection. Every time it happens, actually I'm sad. But this is a new thing. I don't know why. Okay. Okay. Now I will go to my connection hotspot. If it doesn't work, you have the link. You can watch it. It's the summary of what we discuss anyway. Okay.
Okay, sure.
Now, if you can't listen or hear or see, that you tell me, no, it's wrong because I couldn't share the computer sounds. Share sound, and then this is the one, and I'm sharing. If it doesn't work, sorry. What do you think? You could hear and see the nether?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am. It's okay.
Right. We'll forget about that, Putta. And then you have it's a summary. So you watch it, okay? You watch that. It's very good because it's a summary of what we discussed. So it's a help of you for your 1 minute talk as well. Okay, then. Then we will move on to, I'm very sorry about my connection. I have to fix it. It's no excuse actually. But this is a new thing that came up 2 weeks ago. I don't know why. And everybody's complaining now. This area, no connection works. Yeah. Right. Now I will actually get you to look at the test of the unit 2 is done by you, right? I can now start unit is cognition. What is our unit 3? Make your notes. Unit 3 is cognition. Okay, unit 3 is cognition. So I'm opening my note. Before that, let me actually open. I need time, okay? I have to go to. I need time. Now you can write the unit is unit 3, cognition. Now what is cognition? You tell me. What is cognition?
Talent.
Perception.
Yes, very good. Then
Ability to think and imagination, logical thinking, perception, and
yeah, you're
that's
correct.
all I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So actually speaking, you can see the PowerPoint I'm sharing now. Can you see the PowerPoint I'm sharing?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
It's a problem, no? Now,
Still not, ma'am. Now right.
now
No.
it's there, no? Yeah, okay. Now here, our unit 3 is cognition. It is very important to the teacher because you know learning and teaching is very much related to this cognitive process. So what is cognition? By now you all know. So I have some definitions for cognition. One can read it. So one can read it. The others can listen to her. And then if there's anything that you don't understand, explain. So who will read?
The capacity to acquire and apply knowledge. The American Heritage Dictionary, 4th edition, 2000.
Right. The capacity to acquire and apply knowledge is cognition. You should be able to acquire knowledge, get knowledge, understanding. Acquire knowledge means you have to understand, comprehend, perceive. And that you have to apply that knowledge and problem solve. Right? You know adding. You have to actually use adding and solve a sum problem. Likewise, you know how to active and passive. So you will be able to use passive and write an invitation. So likewise, the capacity to acquire knowledge and apply that knowledge is cognition. That is what exactly happens in learning and teaching. Okay. So can you read the second one, please?
The ability to use memory, knowledge, experience, understanding, reasoning, imagination, and judgment in order to solve problems and adapt to new situations. Said by Allwords Dictionary 2006.
Yeah. So that is also, they say, your ability to use your knowledge, experiences, understanding, reasoning, and committing them to memory, and then imagination and judgment, logical thinking, solving problems, and adapt to the new situations using that knowledge and experience is your cognition. Right? So that is what we actually facilitate in learning. Very lower order cognitive abilities are remembering, understanding, and applying. Very low order. We cannot LOT, lower order thinking abilities. Right? Remembering, understanding, and applying. But there are higher order thinking ones. We can hot hot activities, hot abilities. They can actually use them for problem solving, analyzing, and then synthesizing and creating something new using that knowledge. They are ones. Lot ones are there. But lot ones may be understanding, remembering, and applying. But there are higher order ones. Evaluating, synthesizing, creating, and all that. Okay. So all these are our cognition. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Next.
We shall use the term intelligence to mean the ability of an organism to solve new problems, said by
Right.
W.B. Bingham.
Very good. So the term intelligence or cognition to mean that ability of an organism to solve new problems. You don't, now you know 1 + 1 is 2. But if you do not know, I have one apple and my mother gave me another apple and it is 2. And I have to add 1 to 1. You don't know, that is useless. So because of that, cognition or intelligence is ability to solve problems using the knowledge. Right. Then go to Haggerty's definition. What is cognition?
Sensation, perception, association, memory, imagination, discrimination, judgment, and reasoning.
Very good. So we will actually, this is the cognitive process. This is the cognitive process or thought process that our understanding, our comprehension, our ability to commit it to memory and keep it there in the memory, store it, retain it, retrieve it, all these are possible, right? Because of this process. So it's a process. So this process begins with sensation and perception. This cognitive process, it's a series of events, right? It begins with sensation and perception. And then association, memory, imagination, discrimination, judgment, reasoning happens. but it begins with sensation and perception. So we will discuss in the next half an hour what is sensation, what is perception, the two processes of cognition, which in where the cognition begins, right? Without sensation and perception, cognition cannot happen. That cognitive process will not take place. So there should be sensation and perception for the cognitive process to take place. So very important processes, two processes in the cognitive processes are sensation and perception. And now we are going to look at what is sensation and what is perception. Got it? Is it clear? Can I move on to that topic?
Yeah, okay, ma'am.
Yeah,
It's clear, ma'am.
right. Then look at this. Sensation and perception. Okay, sensation and perception. Sensation means all the sensory inputs that we actually receive from the 5 sensory organs we have. The ear, the eyes, the tongue, the skin, and the nose, right? These are the sensory organs. Through these sensory organs, we receive sensory inputs. We call them sensory stimuli. We receive them. But I will ask you, now they are sensations. Now I will ask you, now think of your fan. It's going very fast and making a sound, which is not pleasant. That sensation, that noise, it has been there. But when I actually got you to pay attention only, that you paid attention to it. Am I right? Otherwise, unless otherwise, that noise was there, you were not paying attention to that sensation. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. It happens. And there are lots of sensations, but you will not pay equal attention to all the sensations because it's not possible, right? You can't, because the attention is limited. Capacity of the attention is limited. So you can't pay equal attention to all the sensations that you have. Now, if you think of your room now, maybe that your child is sleeping and she is snoring and your husband is walking and his footsteps are harder this time because he's getting hungry, and then because of that he's angry and all that. And then, right, I'm talking to you and the slides are not working and the fan and all these are sensations. But your focus is on your interest or what you want to focus on, because you can't pay equal attention to all the sensory inputs. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then perception is when you pay attention to sensations. When you pay attention to sensations and give it meaning. When you pay attention to sensations and give it meaning, that sensation is transformed into a perception. Now, for example, now you're in a class and there are 10 girls walking in and you like long hair. As you like long hair, you pay attention to the long-haired girl. Then others are not paid attention to. The others are not perceived as whether they are pretty or ugly or whatever. But you paid attention to the long-haired girl because you like long hair. And then you say, Arne, her hair is knee length and it is very straight or curly or wavy and it's brown, a nice tint. And she looks very good with that long hair and all that. You give lots of meanings to that long hair after paying attention. That is perception. And there can be others, those who do not have any special liking for long hair. So they will not look at him. And there was a girl who is very tall. So some other person may like height. So he or she will pay attention to the tall girl and then think, oh, maybe she's a 6-footer and she can be a model. Like that, you go on actually interpreting and perceiving it. The rest is not perceived because you have limited attention So you have to select and then pay attention and give it meaning, and then the sensations are transformed into perceptions. Sensations are passive process. Perception is an active process because you have to pay attention and give it meaning to transform sensations into perceptions. Got it? Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Now I tell you, now look at my slides, right? What color is it? There's a combination of colors. There are 3 colors in my slides. What are they? Keywords only that you will pay attention to those. Otherwise, you did not pay attention to the colors of the slides. Instead, you look at the words. Am I right?
Exactly, ma'am.
Yeah. Then the different colors of the slides were that you did not pay attention because it's selective. You can't pay equal attention to everything. Once I asked you what are the colors, you paid attention. Now it is transformed into a perception because you say there are 3 colors like that. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, ma'am.
Now, this is what exactly happens in the classroom also. Teachers have to be very well aware of this. Because this sensation and perception, that is the beginning of the cognitive process. If something goes wrong in sensation and perception, if it is not right, the rest of the cognitive processes like memory, storing information, retrieving them, nothing is possible, right? So you have to get this sensation and perception right in the class. Teachers have to actually be ready. When you prepare for lessons, you think, it's the subject matter that I have to teach them. It's not only the subject matter. You have to be equipped with strategies to get them to pay attention to the important parts of the lesson or the sensations. Then only those important parts are paid attention and then they are perceived. Otherwise, they will not pay attention to the important parts. So they will not perceive it. Second, so the rest of the cognitive process will not take. Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
ma'am.
Yeah, now. Yeah.
You can hear.
Yeah. So then you have to make sure if you are a teacher, if you go to the class to teach, you don't have to think only of the subject matter. You have to think what are the important parts of this lesson that the student should not miss and get them to pay attention to these sensations and then perceive it by paying attention and then given meaning. Otherwise, committing it to the memory and storing them systematically and retrieving them for problem solving, that will not be possible. So teachers actually don't think in terms of this, but this is the start or beginning of the cognitive process. If sensation and perception they do not happen right, nothing, the rest of it cannot happen. So because of that, you have to make sure that sensations and perceptions, you have to know all the sensations are not perceived, get them to pay attention to the important areas of the lesson, and then get them to perceive, right? Now, how can you get them to pay attention? Right? You can take interesting topics that they like. If it is girls, girls like fashion. If it is boys, boys like cricket or sports. Like that, teachers do like that. So you cater to their interests. But that is not adequate, okay? And you can actually use other strategies to get them to pay attention. Like in the class, what can you do to get the students to pay attention? You raise your voice. You show them a visual. You write the keywords on the board. You ask a question. It is a rhetoric question. You don't want them to give the answer, but you ask a rhetoric question because then they pay attention, right? And likewise, you show them a visual. You actually get them to underline something. They are all ways of getting their attention to a particular point. And then when you get them to pay attention, that is perceived and given meaning by the student. If this is not facilitated in the class, the rest of the cognitive process of memory and not, so your lesson is not learned. Got the idea?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. So that is actually planning a lesson. It's not some teachers think, it's actually knowing the subject matter and giving it to them. No, you have to actually think of the areas that the student should not miss. That is why you actually write specific objectives of the lesson, right? So you know, they should be able to label the parts of tree. They should be able to state 6 functions of different parts of the tree. So these are the important areas that they should not miss. So for that, you will actually get them to pay attention. You use strategies to get them to pay attention. Then only that they will perceive. If it is perceived, only the rest is possible. That is the role of the teacher in preparing for lessons. You get that?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, most of you all are teachers. Now, have you thought in terms of this? Right? It's very important. Then otherwise, subject matter, presenting subject matter, the very enthusiastic, very intelligent, very enthusiastic and hardworking students will actually look at that. But I don't think that the others will pay attention. So the others will not learn. So you have to cater to each and every child. So you have to know how to get their attention to the important sensations. So for that, specific objectives of the lesson. So you have strategies. You ask them to underline. You ask them to answer your questions. You raise your voice. You show them a visual. Like that, you use a lot of strategies to get them to pay attention. Then it is perceived. Then it is given meaning. I hope that it is understood, Kela. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Now we will move on to here this illustration. Okay. Now here, look at this. How do you perceive this? How do you perceive this at a glance? How do you perceive this? What do you see? 2 faces. Then others, everybody sees 2 faces.
Now I can see it's like a
vase.
that hippo, like
Yeah,
you
vase. Right. Now you can see. Yeah. So this is the thing, right? Now this is actually the thing. We call it figure ground concept. What do we call it? Figure ground concept. You can take it down. We call it figure ground concept. What does it mean? Now this is the figure. The white color vase is the figure. That is what you want your students to learn in that particular lesson. Specific objectives to be realized in the lesson. Label the parts of the tree and state 6 functions of the parts of the tree. But this figure, the specific objectives of the... Mute the mic, dear. If your background noise is good, mute the mic. Right. If your figure, you can't present the figure on its own. You need ground. Some additional information, some additional examples, some additional contexts and all that. So what you want them to learn, like the parts of a tree and the 6 functions of parts of tree, is presented with a figure. So figure here is the 2 faces. But now what happened? Most of you all perceive the 2 faces, not the figure. You perceive the ground, not the figure. The exact thing happens in the classroom also. You go and teach a lesson. Your students will learn not what exactly they are supposed to learn, but something else. I will give you a very simple example. Now you're an English teacher. It's a grade 6 class. You want them to learn how to form simple present active voice verb, base form or S form, right? To actually teach them use S form or base form in simple present active, you have to present that in context. So you think, I will talk about a popular figure and talk about how he spends his day to teach whether it's S form or base form, right? And the figure is S form or base form, ground is the daily routine of the popular figure. Your students might pay attention to the popular figure's daily routines and will not learn the S form or the base form that they have to use, because they actually are more interested in daily routines. So what has happened? Your lesson is a failure because specific objectives, what they're supposed to learn, that is to use S form or base form, is not learned by them. Instead, they learn daily routine of he gets up at this time, he does this and he goes here and there and like that. But it's not the purpose of the lesson. It's not the objective of the lesson. You get my point?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you're planning lessons, the first thing is you have to know what are the specific objectives. What should they learn or perceive? Because you're going to present it, the figure with the grounds. You can't help it. But you have to make sure that they pay attention to the figure, not the ground. For that, you have to know the specific objectives and you have to actually use strategies to get them to pay attention to these areas of the lesson. That is the figure of the lesson. Got it?
Yeah.
So, Meva, you have to put 2 and 2 together, learn. When you do lesson planning, of course, that you have to first write the specific objectives. Then they are the important parts of the lesson. So as the teacher, you have to know how I'm going to get them to pay attention to these important parts. What am I going to do? That is lesson planning, not only the subject matter. Okay. That is what I'm going to tell you. So the figure ground concept is this. So they have to perceive what they are supposed to perceive. So you have to get them to pay attention to the figure and ground. Out of the figure and ground, you have to get them to pay attention to the figure. The most important areas of the lesson are the objectives of the lesson. Okay. So showing visuals like that, you will actually have lots of strategies there. Right. Is it clear to you?
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Yeah. Now, factors affecting perception. Factors affecting perception. As a teacher, if you know what factors affect their perception, so it is easier for you to facilitate perception. So according to psychologists, there are 2 broad factors, internal factors and external factors. Internal factors are their interests, right? They naturally like dark colors. They naturally like light colors. They naturally like songs. They naturally like dance. They naturally like science, like that. What they naturally like fashion, like that. So they are internal factors. Okay. So you can make use of that as well in order to get them to perceive by paying attention. Okay. But always you can't do that. You can use external factors also contributed to your getting the students' attention and perceiving them. So what are these external factors that actually facilitate the perception? To discuss the external factors that the teacher can use to facilitate perception by paying attention and perceiving and giving meaning, we can talk about Gestalt laws of perception. They are externally that you are going to facilitate the perception, giving meaning to the sensations by the student. Gestalt is actually a sub-school of thought, consists of several psychologists, but you forget that Gestalt laws of perception. So in that, there are several, about 20 or more laws, but what is directly related to learning and teaching, we are going to look at them. Is it clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So these are the laws that we are going to actually look at. You can take down. There are several, but we are looking at only 5 because they are very useful for the teacher. You can take down the Gestalt laws of perception. The laws are law of similarity. What is it? Law of similarity. Second one, law of proximity. Third one, law of continuity. Fourth one, law of simplicity or pregnance. And then the next is pregnance, continuity, similarity, law
Ma'am,
of...
can you share the, excuse me, ma'am, can you share the presentation?
It's not being shared. No, it's only a blank one I'm showing, no? So anyway, this is how I have planned this. Next day, I will get you watch a video, right? This is a link for the video. I will get you to watch a video and look at what are the Gestalt laws and what is the definition for that, and what are the illustrations. Each and every law has an illustration, and what is the educational implication. So we are going to discuss it in a big way next day, right? For the time being, we have another 9 minutes or 8 minutes. I will actually give you the names of the laws that we are discussing. There are several others as well. Law of similarity, law of proximity, law of continuity, law of pregnance or simplicity. The other one is law of... what I'm actually having here is, I'm not quite sure. There are several others. For the time being, that you can put law of good figure. Law of good figure. Okay, law of good figure. Those are the 5 laws that we are going to discuss. So when we discuss the 5 laws, you have to know the law. You have to know the meaning of that law, definition. You have to know the illustration used. And then you have to know the educational implications of this law. How you can use it in education to actually facilitate perception. They are external factors. Internal factors are inbuilt, no? They like colors, they like this and that. You can cater to that. External factors are different, and we discuss them by looking at 5 laws. And these 5 laws, you have to interpret them by looking at this criteria. So we are going to do it next day, as time will not permit it this time. Okay, but if you want, I can discuss another component about another important concept in Gestalt laws of perception. Figure ground we discussed. Now you take down this quote from Gestalt theory of perception. They say the whole, W-H-O-L-E, the whole can a complete one, can a guy. W-H-O-L-E, the whole is greater, G-R-E-A-T-E-R, greater than, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, the sum of its parts, the sum, S-U-M, sum, the sum of its parts, P-A-R-T-S. Can one of you read the quote?
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right. This is actually one principle in Gestalt theory of perception. What does it mean? Very insightful for the teacher, okay? Now you think you have a triangle, you have a square, you have a circle, you have a cone, you have a rectangle, right? These are the shapes that you have, right? So these are actually parts of a whole thing. So if I ask you, make it one whole thing, what will you do? You will have a triangle, you will have a square, you will have a circle, cone, and something like this. Am I right? Is it not clear? Now, suppose you have a triangle, you have a cone, you have a rectangle, you have a square. So, I will ask you, what's the whole of it? What is the sum of its parts? These are parts now. So, what is the sum of its parts? So, you will say triangle, square, cone, rectangle. These are the sum of its parts. Sum කියන එකතුව. Am I right? You will put all these shapes together. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
But that is the sum of its parts. But if you are creative, if you are logical, if your higher order thinking is big, you will make a house out of the shapes. Rectangle, and then the square is the window, and another rectangle is the door, and the cone is the roof. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That is actually the whole. So whole is always greater than sum of its parts. So what you can do by adding one to another is a limited one. But if you think in terms of a whole picture, perceive it as a whole, it is greater than the sum of its parts. Am I right?
Yeah, ma'am.
That is where the education should actually gear that. That is what the teachers should make happen in the class. But most of the time, we get them to actually look at sum of its parts. Triangle plus, square plus, rectangle, like that. But if it is the whole, as a whole, if you look at this, it will be a building that they actually create using the parts. Am I right? It is greater than the sum of its parts. Always keep that in mind when you actually plan your lessons. Get them to go for higher order thinking. Be creative, be synthesizing, like that. Got my point?
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So the next day, we will be looking at external factors that can be used to facilitate perception in the classroom by looking at 5 laws of Gestalt laws of perception, referring to the criteria, the law, definition, illustration, and the teacher or educational implication. I will need about half an hour for that part. Then once it is done, we will go to memory. How memory works. By looking at a model of memories, we will look at how memory works. And if you know how memory works, you can facilitate that process, that cognitive process, getting the learner to actually store, retain, and retrieve information from the memory. So that will be the next day. So in the meantime, I have to send you my notes. I have to send you the assignment. You will be getting it by tomorrow. Are you okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Any
Okay.
questions? Any questions?
Excuse me, ma'am. Can you apply this whole is greater than the sum of its parts to a language lesson
Definitely.
like English?
Definitely. I will give you an example if you want. Now you teach your students
Yes,
a passive voice simple present tense using isolated words. Am I right? So when
Yes,
you give them active voice sentences, translate them into passive voice, mechanically they can do that. Mala opens the door is opened by Mala. Mechanically they do. But you ask them, write a notice or write an invitation. They will never use a passive voice simple present. You are invited to, which is held on. They will never use. That is the whole. The other one is the sum of its parts. Am I right?
yes, ma'am.
One
Still, no.
example. Is it clear to you?
Can you give one more example, ma'am?
From language class?
Any other subjects, ma'am?
Right. Okay. Now you get them to actually read a poem, right? And you ask them, subject of the poem. Who are the characters? Where does it happen? What's the setting? Right? And all that. And then they can actually explain the poem, the subject of the poem. And then you ask, what's the theme? They can say this theme is poverty. That is also they can. But if you get them to actually relate it to their own experiences in life, elderly people in elders' homes, how they feel. Can you relate this poem and interpret? That is, you're getting them to look at the whole picture. It's going to be different from the sum of its parts. If it is a sum of its parts, you will talk about the characters, you will talk about the setting, you will talk about the theme. But you can take it beyond it and look at the whole thing. This scarecrow, this poem about scarecrow is about people who are now old and neglected by their own children. And it's a social problem. Get it?
Yes, ma'am. Now, when we write the specific objective as, now the students will write 5 sentences using there is and there are. And in that, so when they are going to describe a picture, in that case, actually, I'm
No.
little bit
Now, this is the
confused.
thing, no, Baba. If you are teaching there is and there are, they are very immature learners. Am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So with the immature learners, you can't get them to look at the whole picture.
Then only with the advanced,
Advanced,
mature ones.
advanced doesn't mean that they have to be in A levels or in postgrad studies or undergraduates or whatever. Maybe that they are in grade 5, a little bit of this can be introduced. Am I right? Getting them to going beyond the exact thing. Going beyond cut and paste කියලා. Going beyond cut and paste. Cut and paste කියලා කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? How many kings? When was he born? Right? What are his actually significant contributions? Cut and paste in the history lesson. But you can actually go beyond that and ask something, actually get them to look at the whole picture. Right? By comparing, contrasting with another king and all that at the beginner levels. You understand?
Yes, ma'am.
With very immature ones, actually, you have to first aim. With the very immature ones, we are not doing big things. Na?
Yeah.
It's limited. Na? Right. I think we are done for the day. And you have homework. And see you next week. Same time.
Thank you, ma'am.
Same day.
Good
Okay. Hope that you understood the lesson. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Difficult? You need to study, right? Not difficult, I know, but you have to study.
Okay, ma'am.
Right, okay then. See you then. Good night. Thank you for joining.
Thank you
Okay,
very much.
bye-bye.
Bye.
Good night, dear.
Good
Good
night,
night.
madam. Thank you. Good night, ma'am.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Mulia, Ma.